Ready.
10,000 represents the student population of UBCO. This is an untapped market for steel box industries. 3,000 of these students have started this fall, and over the next 4 or so years, they will be leaving us and graduating and moving on to buying condos and houses. It is important for steel box to come in and create an early customer relationship with these people, so when they do move on to their next goals in life, that they come back to steel box for their moving and storage needs. We generally care for people is one of steel box storage's values. We believe that this value will be good in coming in and learning the students' pains and coming in and creating a perfect fit for what the students need, so you can come in and create that strong early customer relationship that will bring them back to you in the future. We are for consulting. Again, I'm Brian, David, and Jason, and we are excited today to share our ideas on how we can help you gain that student market. Let me introduce you to Alex here. Alex is 18 years old. It's his first time away from home. He is an outdoor enthusiast who loves to play golf in the summer and ski in the winter. He is currently living on campus in a smaller area than he is normally used to, and he is living on a budget. Living on campus, he is also subject to maybe not owning a car and not having access to personal transportation. His pains are he has nowhere to store his extracurricular activity equipment, and he can't transport it with the lack of a truck, and he's living on a budget, so he can't afford the alternatives that are there for him at present.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you, Brian. So after Brian introduced Alex, so one thing pop up is for your company is student market worth pursuing. Is Alex's case an individual concern or is a group concern to other university students? So first to know that, we have to start our student survey about market demand. We can know student preference after that. And secondly, we want to module container design, which would lower the cost for student and make more affordable to student, and which is Alex, who live on the budget. Thirdly, container around the campus. We highly recommend to put the container around the campus, which we believe it increases the accessibility to most of students who need the storage and without the personal transportation. And thirdly, digital lock on the container. We believe those equipment are so expensive. As an example, we have my golf equipment was $2,000, and we really want to make it more secure than as secure as possible. So, as a summary, let's go back to the question: is student market worth pursuing? It depends on your expectation. Do you want to long-term revenue or long-term customer loyalty? The answer is yes, it is. We want to enhance the long-term customer loyalty from those students in order to make them stay and ask them to come back for our service when they are graduating. So in order to achieve this, we find out a couple issues within your company. The first one is unsuitable service, which is the current target market you have is a single family resident and a couple commercial one. If you want to tap into a student market, you need better strategy for that and design better product which fits for students. And secondly is search engine optimization. Before Alex decides to move here, he needs storage. Then he goes to Google to search the storage, maybe storage in Kelowna. What our results shows, students are heavily reliant on search engines like Google, etc. But your company, when we type it, it's like second last place on the search engine, which is Google, and which is really good, really important concern to the modern generation. And thirdly is competitive. If Alex wants to use transportation, I believe his primary choice would be U-Haul. And if he needs a storage warehouse, he will pick the highest accessibility one, which is Space Center, the closest one to the campus. So we believe these two are the major competitors to your company. And let's bring it to David.
Thank you, Jason. So looking at your company, what we find is that you have a very powerful strength that you provide both transportation and storage services at the same time. U-Haul only does transportation, and Space Center only does storage services. Another powerful strength that we find in your company is that you have an integrated enterprise resource planning system. This is so incredibly important because with this, you can more easily access these students using the systems that you've created in your company. However, we find some weaknesses is that currently your product line is rather limited and may not suit what Alex needs. Alex may not need a full 8 by 12 storage box. He may only need a locker for his skis or his golf equipment. So we want to, moving forward, we want to expand what we can provide for students like Alex to suit what he needs. Because the product line is more built for single-family homes moving, we find that the product is very expensive for someone like Alex. He doesn't need, as I said earlier, doesn't need the full product. As I said before, the product is too large, and because of that, it's far too expensive for Alex to afford living on a budget. Moving out into the industry, what we find a strong opportunity for your company is that you're working with a very strong relationship with UBC. You have the connections with MSA, JDC, Capstone. This can help you move to the second opportunity, which is to get into this untapped market of 10,000 students through these programs. However, we find some threats in the industry, like I said before, our competitors, U-Haul, Space Center. Another threat that we find is that these students are very sensitive to the price. Alex doesn't have that a budget to. He doesn't have the budget to afford expensive or large, expensive storage options. So we need to consider this moving forward. So moving to just quick key takeaways. First is that we see a very strong opportunity in your company to establish a strong long-term student relationship. However, to get to this point, we find that students' needs differ from your current scope, which is the single-family homes. Moving on to from this point, we've identified 3 potential paths that your company could take. First one is a pickup and delivery service to students on campus. Second would be a modular-based storage in the big steel box warehouse. And third would be a modular-based storage to students, but to have them placed on campus. Moving into our first alternative, we find a very strong benefit from this is that it's very accessible. You bring the service to the students and you take it back to the storage for them. However, we find that this is very expensive to do. Not just for Alex, who has to pay for pickup and delivery costs, but also for your company. You need to train more people. You need to have new technologies implemented within these trucks to provide a effective system of transportation to and from the university campus. So we decided to reject this first alternative. Moving to the second alternative of having the modular-based storage in the warehouse, we find a very strong benefit compared to the first one is that it's very flexible. We can have different module sizes, different storage spaces for whatever Alex needs. If he needs a larger space, we provide the larger space. If he needs smaller lockers, we provide smaller lockers. However, we find a concern is that there are too many similar competitors. As I've said before, Space Center is a closer alternative than Big Steel Box, so Alex is more likely to go to Space Center because it is more accessible for him. So we reject our second alternative. Moving into our third alternative that we will recommend to your company, we find the strong benefit of having boxes on campus that it is very accessible. Alex doesn't need to go use a friend to take him to a warehouse. He can just walk to the box and get his equipment and put it back in on his own. We also find that it's much more affordable because this time there's only cost of installing the boxes, and as they're left there, there's very little maintenance costs going forward into the future. We find that it's also much more secure. This by implementing in our plan, having digital locks will keep it secure so that only Alex and whoever he wants to can get into his access. Another one is that by keeping these products on campus affordable and easy to access, we can start to begin to develop a strong student relationship with Alex and other students who need this service. The major concern with this is that this is an untested market. If your company has never tried to implement a permanent storage outside of the big steel box, and your company may be unsure as to how effective this will be at drawing in students.
Okay, thank you, David. As David had mentioned the recommendation we have, so there are some key steps to implement this recommendation. The first one is marketing. As David mentioned, this is untested to your company, so we first recommend to start student survey. And in order to determine feasibility, we want to reach out 15% of people's awareness or adoption rate. If that number reached, which means this plan is feasible. And secondly, we want to implement the geofence as online service. Because your company has already implemented ERP, we want to also implement geofence as site software service. What geofence is an online geographic advertisement service, which you don't have to waste your money. You can focus your money, your advertisement budget on specific area with specific customer, and you don't have to waste your money to the rock band or like Glamour or somewhere else the customer who doesn't need it. And also another benefit with the geofence is like you can also place one near the container, and you can know how many users are approaching the container and how effectively at the KPI measurement. Secondly is the container design. We want to design interior container, which is modular, as we mentioned it. Due to the student survey, we are easy to know how many sizes they need, and we are easy to know how can we divide the container more efficiently. And also the shelves as well. We see your company are already doing the shelf product now, which we believe is a really good idea to combine together. And secondly is external design, which we most focusing on the security feature, which is digital log we talked about before. And another thing is branding and outlooking. And the third thing will be negotiation. This is really important part because we want to negotiate with Mission Group and UBC of Tanaga. So therefore, with this term of negotiation, we recommend to do lease and revenue share. We will have the cash flow report after, but initially we want to do $1,000 per container per year and up to 30% revenue share with UBC or Mission Group. And the number of containers we want to put 2 containers, 1 each initially. And the contract length we want to start 6 months plus 12 months. The reason why we did that is because 6 months is November to May, around there, and then another 12 months after is the basic school year for 12 months, so which we believe is feasible.
Expanding on what Jason just said, we've outlined some key performance indicators that we are confident that this strategy will achieve. First one is student retention post-graduation. So we expect 35 students in the long term that after graduation will come back and continue using steel box services, as well as 100 students in the short term. So that what that means is year after year, the same students will come back and use it throughout their degree. For brand awareness, we are implementing surveys to measure if impression has increased over the years, and we expect a target of 30% by having the logos on the steel box around campus, as well as the geofencing marketing. We also measure the performance of the geofences by analyzing the active period. So we're only going to do it in peak season, so 2 months at a time, and we'll come back and analyze to make sure that it's effective. And vacancies of containers. We are confident that we can achieve a 5% vacancy during peak season being the school year, fall to end of springtime.
Okay, let's move on to the preparation. As I mentioned before, our contract length is 6 plus 12. This is the 6 months what we are going to do for the first. The first one we want to start student survey, as I mentioned a couple times before. This will take 2 months. After that, when we collect and analyze the feedback from students, we are able to start container design, which we are able to make the container more efficiency. And secondly, and let's move on to next, we want to negotiate with UBCO and Mission Group. The reason why Mission Group only take 1 month because I believe their value is highly matched to your company's value. So, and they believe they care about people as well and try to bring the convenience to their residents. Let's move on to next, which is Radar Geofence. The Radar is a company we choose for the Geofence service, and it will take 2 months. We want to make it before the peak season, which is in between March to May. The reason why is that Geofence takes $500 per month, and which is, we believe is a little high cost for your company, so we want to only do 2 months period before the high season. And also, the last week is the 2 pilot project ready. As I mentioned before, we are planning to put 2 containers initially, one around the UBCO, one around the Academy Hill, which is 2 initial products we want to implement first. And let's move on to the 12-month contract length. The first one we want to put 8 more boxes implemented, another one in around the campus, and 7 of them, so you want to use 7. So increase the accessibility to most of the students. And the secondary is the student survey. Because we have the KPI measurement, we want to measure how how our movement increase generate effect to students on the campus. And the third is improve aesthetic of unit. We want to collaborate with art program in UBCO and try to ask them to design a better looking container in order to fit more to university culture. This will take 3 months. And lastly, we want to do the Radar Geofence again, which is starting September to November and starting March to May again, which is also before the peak season. As I mentioned, this service is expensive initially, but it will have really good long-term return. Okay.
Moving into the cost of the implementation plan, we initially see an investment of $80,000. This being made up of the lease contract, the container redesign, marketing, and consulting fee. Moving forward, the consulting fee won't be there in future years, as well as the container redesign will not be a part of it, dropping cost by in half. And this is a price sensitivity analysis. So we have low revenue, medium revenue, and high revenue. This is broken down into, we've come up with a variety of container designs and how revenue would be based on size of the container and how many units in the container that we could have. So with the low revenue option, we're expecting to break even earlier in 2021, or sorry, late 2021. Medium one in summer 2021, and high revenue early 2021. So coming back to the question, is student marketing worth pursuing? We believe we can, with student survey about market demand, we can come back to Alex and hear him and figure out what he needs, and then we can have the student preference. And go into modular container design, and so we can design these containers for his preference and his price point, so he can afford the storage needs he has. Putting the containers around campus, we'll be able to increase accessibility to Alex as well as the other students who don't have personal transportation. And digital locks on the container will provide the students with the security that they need for their equipment that they want to put in the storage lockers. This will ultimately come down to creating long-term customer loyalty with the 10,000 students. And we believe once we get everything working at UBCO that we'll be able to scale this and apply it to other university campuses where you guys are located. We now open the floor to questions.
As you're thinking through this, thinking of putting a container on site at different places, Did you decide how that container would be used? Is it one big box for everybody? Is it segmented? Is it got multiple doors? What's the container?
So, great question about as to how we plan to do this. What we recommend is with figure 1 is having them split across the modules similar to how the simple diagram looks, and it's also split straight down the middle as per the figure 2. This way we can get, for a simple access, 12 different rooms that these students can buy for per container box. However, we also, as this is just for the simple 3 feet by 4 feet ones, we also want to see what the students want. So we can also retrofit this to have maybe just lockers inside of one of the rooms instead, so that the students who need smaller access to them don't have to pay for a full 3 feet by 4 feet container.
Are those containers the 20-foot ones, or are you guys thinking about 40-feet containers?
We are thinking about 8 times 20. Yeah, 8 times 20.
Okay.
I believe it's one of the problems you currently have.
Yeah.
As far as your financial analysis, you had other as a major chunk of your cost breakdown. I just wanted to see what you considered in the other section.
So other would be like accounting fees, getting permits on site, stuff like that. Just, yeah.
Other various expenses.
Yeah, just, again, that would go along with the process of doing this.
Yeah, and then you said your break for your ideal percentage is 15%, to kind of gauge that return. Could you go back to that slide and just walk me through why you chose, how that number came about?
This one?
Yeah.
So we've decided on 15% as a feasible minimum for your company, because we believe that within a full building that maybe one student and a few students per floor may need this. So we decided that 15% we could get about 16 students that might need these that may need these containers to get our, as we said before, the 5% vacancy rate during peak seasons.
I have a question that's similar. You mentioned the student retention part of 35. I'm just wondering how you got to those numbers.
This one?
Yeah.
For this one, we are thinking about the long term, which is when students graduate from the university. But because UBCO is most international based, so some of them are decide that like me, when I graduate, I have a higher chance to go back to my country as China. So there won't be a lot of students, even though they have a lot of graduation each year. So we are thinking to people who are willing to stay in Canada, especially Western Canada. So that's why that number is most specific. Not sounds crazy, but it's reasonable. Yeah, thank you.
Andy, I do want to leave time for you.
Oh, no, I want you guys to ask questions.
It's a competitive question. So you talk about Space Center. So what do you do different with Space Center currently, if you're a student using it? What does Space Center do differently than we do? Basically? What do they do differently?
Okay, the first thing is the price. I believe we did some search. Student center provides $35 per month, around there. And the secondly, we hired our advantage is the accessibility. We are providing the help to the person who doesn't have the individual transportation system. We want them to get the equipment once they need it. So that's the major difference between us and the storage space center.
I can ask, what are your ideas for the aesthetics of the boxes? Like, do you have anything in mind, or why did you want to hire some art students to paint on it?
Could you go back to that photo, Jason?
Okay.
So we're picturing something more as figure 1, but it won't be glass windows on it, blacked out so people can't see inside of it. it'll happen. And we want to partner with the UBCO art students to create like brand awareness, show that Steelbox cares about what students think and their creativity. And we feel that if the students painted it or made it a part of UBCO campus, we could make a fun, competitive thing that would bring out what students' values and what they believe is important to see on campus.
Are we on time?
What's the time? 4 minutes more?
Sure, well, what's your
For
marketing plan? Because you have a, that's a marketing tactic, is you're gonna use geofencing, but what's the message and what's the pictures or which platforms are you gonna use inside of geofence marketing strategies?
So, great question. As for the marketing plan itself, what we want, our primary message that we want to get out is that we are here, and we also provide, the second message is that we provide both the transportation and storage service needs. When a student like Alex thinks of a big steel box, he thinks of a big steel box. He doesn't think about that box moving where he needs to. So in our marketing message, we want to provide to Alex the message that he can use big steel box for services that, if he stays in Canada, to transport and move to homes in the future.
But like, if you're targeting Alex who's a student here for the next 4 years, he's not thinking about moving away into a condo for the next, until like 5 years from now. Why would you geofence that inside of UBCO if you're trying to promote like on-campus temporary modular solution?
Yeah, thank you. As I continue David's answer. So imagine Alex just just finished his skiing from Big White. Once he his friend take him back to the campus, his ski equipment is wet and dirty. But he doesn't want to put it into his apartment. It's messed up. And once he enters the UBCO location, he will receive a notification, oh, we provide storage in a container which is close to resident. Then Alex realized, oh, I have a second option, which I can store my equipment into the container and use it next time. Right? This is really convenient and for most of the students.
Unless it's March and it's been used all year long with wet and dirty equipment, then I'm going into a pigsty. So why would I do that? Why would I stay loyal to you? Why would I put my nice, clean, valuable equipment inside your dirty container that's been sitting there for 6 months?
Oh, honestly, like our container is clean but not dirty. The dirty because that I think ice equipment is dirty. Just get from the.
So it's going to make the container dirty.
Yeah, but I think this is the service.
I'm picking on you here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use that example. And I also agree, why would you geofence?
Okay, so.
I have the same question.
Can I take in here? The geofencing, we want the students to realize that the service that they're getting on campus can be also taken away when they go on summer vacation and they gotta move back home. That steel box can help them move their stuff back home, and it's not just an on-campus tool that they have provided to them.
I was going to say, we're ready for feedback
Oh, how many?
Whenever you guys want, we have another minute, but
or questions?
yeah,
Um,
but whenever you are
Alternative
ready.
one, could you just tell me why you guys rejected it and why you thought it was expensive?
So good question. As Jason will bring us to our first alternative. We find that it would be expensive first for Alex because with the pickup and delivery system, he would have to pay for the truck being sent to the campus as well as being sent back, which would drive up the cost, which living on a budget would be very difficult for Alex to do on a regular basis. And we would also find secondary that it would be difficult for your, more expensive for your company. Your core competencies are for pickup, storage, and transport. They're not meant, you currently don't have the core competencies of the short-term, like quick pickup and delivery. So you'd have to train new people, you'd have to invest in new technologies that would help make sure that these items aren't lost, like RFIDs. So we find that it would be very expensive for your company as well to develop this core competency.
Okay, that ends that, I believe.